What's up, guys? This is Dustin Zimmerman with Game Time Discussions, and I am back to talk about our March to the Madness, our show about the road to March Madness and everything surrounding bracketology, top teams, some of the bubble teams, and all things inside out on college basketball. Without further ado, let me share my screen. All right, so hopefully everyone can see my slides there. It looks like it's popping up. So, first off, as we always talk about, our one seeds. So, overall seed is still Auburn. They've been dominant all year. They continue to dominate. They continue to win. They just beat Georgia this past weekend, looking great. Alabama had a big win over Kentucky. Florida still playing solid, winning conference games. Duke, they just annihilated Illinois, which is really weird for them to play that game in February. But regardless, Cooper Flagg looks like the number one overall pick, more than likely. Him and Janai Broom are still in a pretty deep battle for winner for player of the year. Probably no one touching those two guys, though. All right, so we're going to change it up a little bit this week. I'm going to kind of dive into resumes more so that we can talk about what we're looking at and how close teams are. So, if you remember from the past, we've talked about trying to hit that top 30 of the BPI, which is ESPN's power metric, and then top 30 of the net, which is kind of what the NCAA uses to justify a resume or rank teams as far as how well they've performed. It's not predictive, meaning how well they will perform, it's more for review and form. And then I like to throw back to the old school RPI sometimes just to show how much things have changed. If you didn't know, RPI used to be the power metric that was used and was widely accepted as the benchmark for whether teams were making the NCAA tournament or not. So Arkansas, as you can see, RPI 68. Are they the 68th best team in the country? No, they're better than that. BPI 41st, net 40th, KenPom, which is the efficiency ratings we've talked about a few times, 36th. And then I included ELO on here from warrennolan.com. Very cool analytics website. ELO, if you didn't know, or maybe you have heard of it from chess, is that it's the chess ranking system. And it's kind of cool just to see it in sports, so I like to include it every now and then. But as you can see, most of these other metrics have them ranked about the same in that 36 up to 41st in that area. And then the RPI is at 68. It's kind of just funny to see how times have changed and how the reason RPI isn't used anymore and potentially to use it to look back at how crazy some of those seedings were in the past. But like I said, Arkansas, they're on the bubble. Most brackets I've seen have them right on the outside. Actually, I'd say about 50-50 have them right on the outside, right on the inside at that 11 line, having to play one of the play-in games. They need to win both games this week. They're playing Texas and South Carolina, both very winnable games for them. Especially the important one, Texas, because they're essentially vying for that bubble spot against each other. Now, over this past week, Arkansas did lose to Auburn, but they did beat Missouri, who was ranked 15th at the time. At the time I'm recording this, I haven't seen the new AP poll come out yet. It'll be out by the time this gets released, but as of recording, they were 15th. So Arkansas did help their resume this week, but they're going to have to keep pushing. That's the big news there. Next is Texas. Thought it made sense to use them next. As you can see at the bottom, we'll just jump to that real quick. Their next game is at Arkansas. This is kind of a winner gets that spot kind of game. Now, it's not going to decide everything. This isn't a winner take all situation, but it can have some very big effects on seeding and who the committee decides maybe deserves one of those last spots. As you can see, again, it's kind of funny. The RPI is over double their BPI and net rankings. Just weird how that's changed. But as you can see, they're a little bit better than Arkansas on most of these metrics. And then ELO, which is not any sort of official metric that the committee uses. Like I said, I just find it interesting. 53rd. And ELO is going to be much more affected based on recent performance because it is affected by how well you do in your previous games. So teams who have been on winning streaks will move up higher and whatnot. Excuse me. But yeah, BPI is 34. Again, we're aiming for that top 30. This Texas team a couple weeks ago, or last week even, I said I thought should be in the tournament. They had a big win over Kentucky. And then this past week, we'll get to their recent game, but it's dropped them a little bit. at Arkansas versus Georgia. Georgia actually has an outside shot of making the tournament too, so they kind of have two big bubble games this week. Ohio State, you can see right in that same area. Their BPI is 35th, net 34, KenPom 33. For reference, we're about Texas 34th, 38th, 39th, respectively. So very close to it. They still have a good shot at making it. Again, they're one of those teams that's right on that line of making the playing game, not making it. Two very winnable games. They're going to be at UCLA and at USC, though. So a lot of travel for them. Teams new to the conference. UCLA's actually been pretty decent this year. They have some big wins. They're also kind of a bubble team. They're a little bit ahead of the pack they should be in. USC, they need, essentially Ohio State needs to win both of these games. And if they are going to lose one, it's going to have to be UCLA and be a close game. Any sort of blowout, I think, knocks them off the bubble. All right, top teams that impressed. We try to do this every week, just looking at those teams that when we're thinking more about the championship and reaching that Final Four. Tennessee beat A&M on the road. Duke continues to dominate Auburn. Much of the same story. I'm going to include them pretty much every time because it's important to note that they are by far the two best teams in the country. I will say Houston. I watched their Iowa State game this week. Huge win for them. They are a very veteran team. They have a few veterans that played on the team last year and have been in the conference or the NCAA tournament, March Madness, the last couple of years. Really good shooting team. They did win over Iowa State. Now, I will put a caveat on that. Iowa State also impressed me because they were down their top two scorers. So their two guys leading the team in points per game were both out this week, and they actually kept it to a pretty close game with them. The final score of that one was 68-59, so 9-point game, but it was close back and forth all the way up to the final 2 minutes, final minute. Great game between those two. It's going to be exciting to see them in the Big 12 tournament too. Hopefully Iowa State back in full health. Be very interesting to see how far they go, who can win that tournament. And then we're actually going to talk about some more Big 12 teams in a second. Big winners of the week, South Carolina. Shout out to them. Again, they beat Texas. This isn't to pile on Texas, but it's more to say, hey, good job. You got your first conference win of the year. I've been trying to watch their games. They've had a ton of really close ones, overtime games, nail biters, all throughout the year to Mississippi State, A&M, Florida. They probably should have won that one, and they kind of choked it away in the last 30 seconds. So shout out to them, get their first win, conference win of the year. BYU, they beat Arizona on the road. BYU, if you remember, has been one of those bubble teams we've been talking about. They really helped their resume with a win like that. Now, this game had probably the most controversial ending I saw over the week. First off, BYU was leading with under a minute to go. Caleb Love, senior veteran guard for Arizona, drove down. Slight contact. He actually made the layup after. If you know anything with the NCAA versus college rules, NCAA, if you get bumped and then shoot it, you don't get the foul on the shot. Versus NBA, you do. The shot actually went in. It's called continuation. But they didn't award him that. They just awarded him a blocking foul while driving. He made both free throws. They take a 1-point lead. And BYU comes back down. One of the guards who had a pretty big game, Saunders, I believe, he is backing down one of the Arizona players, low on the shot clock, kind of throws up a prayer. Maybe there's some contact there. I didn't see a whole lot. Refs call a foul. He makes both free throws. Arizona ends up turning the ball over. Game ends. Very slight skirmish, scuffle, more just talking and yelling back and forth after the game. Very intense game, very emotional. Awesome game. Shout out to BYU for winning it. Arizona still looks good. We're going to talk about them some more in the grand scheme of things in a second. BYU with that win probably gets themselves in the tournament, assuming they don't have a complete collapse from here on out. Alabama, they had back-to-back losses. They hosted Kentucky this week. Kentucky is still down a couple players, including Jackson Robinson, who's a really good point guard. Alabama did control that game. They won. They looked really good. Shooting looked back on track. Mark Sears looks like the veteran guard a lot of people expect him to be coming into March. So shout out to them. Great win. And then, like I said earlier, Arkansas beat number 15 Missouri. I called it a must-win game because this is one that boosts their resume a lot. I guess must-win isn't quite necessary. There's still some ways they get in the tournament. This one helped a ton for them. All right, as I was preparing to record this, typing stuff out, editing it, Indiana, I looked up and Indiana had come back on Purdue. I had stopped watching the game because I was preparing for this and watched some other stuff. Purdue was up 37-25 at halftime. And then Indiana went, I believe when I checked at one point in the second half, they had outscored Purdue 33-8, which is insane. Indiana's, we talked about them a little bit in our disappointment section because Mike Woodson has not done well with that team. They're already planning on firing him at the end of the year. At this point, he's playing with nothing to lose, and so is the team. They're technically on the bubble, very low on it, unless they have an amazing end of the year and all but win the Big Ten tournament. They're probably not going to make March Madness. But yeah, this was just shocking, insane. I don't know what it is about Mike Woodson, but Purdue and Matt Painter just struggle against them. So shout out to Indiana for creating a hilarious moment this Sunday. All right, disappointments for the week. Talked about a couple of them, or one of them. Texas. How do you lose to South Carolina when you're on the bubble? You need to be winning games, and you let them get their first conference win of the year. Come on, Longhorns. UConn was watching this one, and again, I'm filming this on Sunday. It's going to come out on Monday. UConn lost again to St. John's. We talked about UConn. They are the back-to-back reigning champions. And right now, they're on the bubble and they are lowering themselves. They've got to get it together. They got to come out and finish the year strong. Um, but yeah, again to St. John's again, and we did talk about St. John's a couple times in terms of impressing me. They're a really good team. Rick Pitino's done a great job with them. So shout out to them for winning on their home court. Last one, Gonzaga. So we think of Gonzaga as making the tournament every year. Not going to be an issue. They are essentially guaranteed to make it to the Sweet 16 every year, it feels like. Right now, they're on the bubble. They've kind of collapsed throughout the year. Collapse isn't the right word. They have not impressed. They're not winning the games. They usually win the games they need to win to build that resume to earn themselves a spot in the tournament. They lost to St. Mary's at home. You don't lose on your home court in these games. You got to win them. They're going to need a really good finish to the year, possibly need to win their conference tournament to make it, which is insane to think about with Gonzaga, who's perennially a top team. All right. So, like I've said, Auburn and Duke are on another level. They're insane. Auburn led by Janai Broom, Duke led by Cooper Flagg. They're awesome. But there's some other teams I'm very interested in. Texas Tech has been getting a lot of buzz lately. They're kind of flying up bracketology boards to 3 seeds right now. JT Toppin is their best player. He's really good. He seems to be healthy. He did miss a few games earlier in the year. They're 11th in Ken Palm offense and in the top 30 in defense. When they're all playing well and healthy, they look really good. They're a good shooting team. I'm excited to see what they can do. Possibly win the Big 12 tournament. But as you can see, the other 2 teams on the list are also in the Big 12. So I kind of see these teams as 3-headed monsters. They're all going to make the tournament. They're all going to be probably 2, 3, 4 seeds, potentially a 1 seed for Houston. But yeah, Tech, really good. Houston, we talked about in the comments a couple times. They're amazing. Both passing the eye test. They play, like I said earlier, they've got veteran guards. They've got LJ Cryer, Manuel Sharp, and then Juwan Roberts forward. They've all been playing there for, I believe, 2 years each now, 2 or 3. So really good team. Experience wins you games in March and early April if you make it that far. They can shoot the lights out of the gym. 5th nationally in 3-point percentage, and then their defense is also locked down. And then Iowa State, TJ Otzenberger, their coach, has done a fantastic job with that team. They only lost by 9 at Houston, who again I just gave high praises to, and that was without their 2 best scorers on the road. Props to them. Excited to see how the Big 12 tournament goes and how these teams close out their seasons. All right, and then it's you kind of need to be top 25 in both Ken Palm offense and defense to win March Madness. So we're looking more for the championship here. Only once was a team outside of this, and that was UConn, and I believe 2014 their defense was in the 40s or 51st. Offense was still in the top 20. But outside of that, every other champion over the last like 12, 13 years has been top 25 in both. So Duke, they're actually first overall in Ken Palm efficiency. Auburn, second overall. Houston, third overall. Florida, fourth overall. So, as you can see, three of these teams I've got in my one seeds, and then Houston, I have as a two right now. They're very good though. Like I've been giving their high praises. Iowa State, they are eighth overall, top 25 in both. Michigan State, they just had a big win over rival Michigan. Really great out of them. Tom Izzo seems to be, I mean, he's a Hall of Fame coach for sure. Always has his team in the right place. Pretty awesome to see him go, keep on going. Arizona, 12th overall. And that's after losing to BYU, like we talked about. And then Maryland. So Maryland's probably one of the teams flying under the radar. Keep an eye out for the Terrapins. 15th overall in KenPom. They are 17th in offense and 20th in defense. They've looked really good this year. They are 21-6. So keep an eye out for them. Not a team we traditionally think about being a powerhouse in basketball. So, and then one I just wanted to give a shout out to Alabama. They're third overall in offense, but they're 47th in defense. If they can tie up that defense, get that working a little bit better, then they obviously meet the criteria for top 25 on offense. They could be a real force to reckon with. Probably still going to end up getting a one seed depending on how they finish out the year and how the SC tournament goes. But we need some defense out of them to really consider them title contenders. That is everything I got as far as that slideshow goes. Go and close that. All right, guys. Thank you all very much for joining me today. Let me know if you have any comments, questions, thoughts about any teams, resumes you want me to look at, comparing teams. We'll start doing some more resume, either blind resume or just head-to-head resume stuff as we get a little bit closer. There's still a lot of stuff to be done, a lot of games to be played. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I'll keep watching every game I can. Leave plenty of comments and questions, and I will see y'all next week. Thank y'all very much.